We're live.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hey, it is Thursday again, which means tomorrow is Friday and the next day is Saturday. Yay.
And today is a special Thursday. Today is also Derek's birthday. Yay!
We will see when more people are in, so that more people are aware.
No, that's okay. I was joking earlier about asking people to wish me happy birthday, so I'm not.
Do wish Derek happy birthday.
Mhm.
Yes, but it is the most special Thursday of the entire year today. That's right.
So we were jokingly saying, like before you ask any questions, wish Derek a happy birthday. That only will answer your question.
That's right. If you don't wish me happy birthday, I will not answer the question.
And Derek is
just
still
joking.
in his 30s, by the way.
What's that?
Still, Derek is still in his 30s.
I am still in my 30s. I am holding on tight. So, we'll see. We're going to make this a fantastic year. So those of you who have never seen Pop-Up Career Q&A before, this is when we answer your career-related questions live. So it streams on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. So anywhere you're watching this from, if you actually put a question in the comments, we can actually see it. And then we'll pick it up and we'll answer them. So hello, everyone. If you do see us, just say hi in the comments. You don't have to wish me happy birthday. I was just joking. But do say hi so we can see you too.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Let us know whether you can hear us clearly or not. But as usual, before we start, I want to point out that WOBB, one of our employers on the platform, are hiring for 9 positions that you see right now. So, WOBB is a trustworthy social media sharing platform that aims to empower entrepreneurs by creating unlimited possibilities to grow. So if you want to know more about them, you see the positions that you like, head on over to wobjobs.com/WOBB. Right? With that being said, let's start the show. Hi, Kevin.
Hello,
Kevin.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Shim.
Your first wish.
Shim Dong. Oh,
First birthday wish.
I appreciate it, Shim Dong. You are very kind.
So Shim Dong, you need to ask us a question. Because Derek will answer you personally.
I will answer it first. Right.
The best birthday gift you can give to Derek today is your career questions. So keep them coming, right? But before that, we had like birthday gifts from advance, from like previous weeks. So the first question that we got is, what is the current trend for hiring? Let me just pull up the full question here. What is the current trend for employers to hire someone? Do they 100% follow the job description? For example, I applied for a process engineer, but I have an R&D background. Will employers consider me?
Yeah, so from actual recruitment experience, I find that most of the time employers don't hire 100% what they write on the JD. And you commonly see this joke, right, about how JDs not only describe this ideal candidate, most of the time it's a candidate that probably doesn't even exist. We want it's like a stupid joke.
Mr. Mrs. Perfect.
We want a fresh graduate with 5 years of experience, something ridiculous like that. I mean, it's ridiculous, but you do see JDs like this. But what happens most of the time is employers, when they write JDs, they, some of them base it off templates or this ideal person that they're looking for. And when in the recruitment process, they basically interview the best people that apply to the role. And most of the time, the best people apply to the role don't exactly fit the job description. And therefore, if you think that it is relevant, like your profile could be relevant, you're free to apply, right? And what's the worst that can happen? They don't shortlist you for the interview. That's the worst. So 100%, I think even though you don't fit the JD, don't feel like you're not suitable. Most people that get hired don't fit the JD anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very well put. So, we got a huge swarm of questions. Anything to add, Kenny and Eleanor, so far for this question?
No, I think Derek covered it.
Yeah, Derek covered it pretty well. Yeah, as long as you can display the relevant skills, I think you'll be considered. Essentially, that's it.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question then. So Iman has a question for us. I'm looking to apply for a position that I'm really interested in, but I don't really have the experience or portfolio for it. Any advice on that?
Learn the skills. Learn the skills that's needed. If you don't have the financial ability for it, there is a lot of free online courses everywhere online. Skillshare, Coursera. Recently, Coursera had the free what was that? Online courses for everyone actually for a certain period of time. But I think that's over already,
Yeah, I think that's over. It's over already. I think it's until the end of the year.
Oh yeah,
But-
So yeah, there's actually a lot of online resources that you can find for free. Actually,
Yeah,
it depends
I
on what
think-
position you're looking for.
One of the good answers that we gave previously to a very similar question was that, if it's something like, well, Iman, we don't know your situation now, right? Like, what are you actually applying for? But one of the examples we give previously is when people say that, oh, I don't have experience or I don't have the portfolio, people are under the mindset that, you have to work in a professional setting, at a real job to create the portfolio and get the experience. But sometimes, like as a graphic designer, right, you are aspiring to be a graphic designer, but you haven't had the professional work experience before. You don't have clients clients that previously you have worked with to create a portfolio. You can actually just create ideas from scratch, like design from scratch, right? Like you can design menus, for example, or marketing campaign artworks. Creating things from thin air. That's how you create a portfolio. It doesn't have to be like a real scenario where you have to work with a company to create all those materials.
Actually, building on top of that, Brian kind of reminded me. We actually have a creative person in our creative team who started from an intern. Previously, she was actually studying psychology. She didn't have any creative background, but she was very interested in creative, and she was doing it sort of like in her free time kind of thing. And she took up internship, and now she's a full-time creative person in WOBB. So yeah, maybe internship is the way to go as well.
Yeah, and sort of building on that as well. Once you sort of get the basics of the skills that you need, you can, when you apply for a job, if you sort of know what the company is doing and stuff like that, you can craft a special small portfolio focused on the company. For example, if you're applying for a digital marketing role in that company, come up with a plan for them, find out what they're lacking, find out places, suggest improvements on their SEO. So this kind of portfolio will also show that you are very interested in position, as well as showing the applications of your skill.
Yeah, and I think in short, right, like whatever you've done before, doesn't fully define what you can do. But I want to first qualify your question by saying that if the gap is too far, it might be very hard. So say, let's say you're an accountant and you want to be an astronaut, that's probably too big of a gap. But it's an extreme example, but I just to paint this picture. But for me, like in my personal career, I've shifted many times. So I was actually an accountant before, and then doing auditing, and then I went into recruitment. But I recruited for accountants. It started like this. So even though I haven't done recruitment before, you see there's a relevance, right? That kind of tied me into that next job. And after doing recruiting for accountants, I expanded to recruiting for other roles. And now I run a technology company that does recruiting. So I've never run a technology business before, but because I'm recruiting, so you can see how you can try to find whatever's relevant in your current role, and as best as possible, try to see how it can be relevant to that role that you are looking for, and position your CV in such a way, right? So hopefully that helps.
Yes, I hope we answer your question, Iman. So let's move on to the next one then. So the next question is, how do you answer why you left your previous job?
Okay.
Depends on what.
Yeah, it depends on whether you left. Yeah.
Truthfully is always the right way.
Yeah, truthfully, but the most important thing is like some key things like you should never do is like never badmouth your previous employer. I mean, avoid it lah. I'm gonna exclude like very extreme situations, but in most cases, you just avoid the negative stuff and just talk about the reason why you're looking to the future, what else you're looking for, why you're applying to this new employer. Focus the conversation on that. And as much as it could be legitimate how you felt about your previous employer, but the interviewer, because they don't know you, they don't know the employer, in most cases, right, they're going to be very cautious when they hear, these kind of reasons. And they might be thinking, is it the issue with the employer? Is it the issue with you? That there is very little scenario where I can see it helping you with the interview. Very little. But again, I would exclude very extreme situations. Let's say, like in the previous employer, maybe something really bad happened, and I think that's fine. I suppose if you have no other way to explain it other than to truthfully share it, I think you can do that. But in general, try to stay positive.
Yeah. And ending on a positive note, we our general advice that we give when we get this question is, be truthful, but end it on a positive note, right? End it on why you're looking forward to join the company. You can say it truthfully. What I mean by that is, I left my previous job, because of the company was having quite a bit of politics, which made it to be a very negative working environment that kind of hindered my what I want to achieve in my career. So it hinders my growth, right? But that's besides the point. What I want to do is, I want to be this. I want to do this in the future. So spin the story. By spinning, I don't mean lying. Like guide the story to your own personal, what you want to achieve, personally, and what you want to achieve in potentially your future with the company that you're interviewing with. Yeah. I think that's all of our thoughts.
I think that's good.
Yes.
So next question. Shazrina, what is the most in demand skill, especially in our current situation?
Most in demand skill. I'm not sure if I can say skill. For example, yes, there is a shortage of, say, developers, technology roles. But even though I say there's a shortage, I'm not asking everyone to suddenly want to become a developer, because number one, you're not necessarily suitable to be a developer. Number two, if everyone tries to be a developer, then there'll be too many developers, if that makes sense, right? So I think in general, I'm not thinking so much in skill, but in the industries, I suppose. Like there are a lot of tech or digital kind of industries that are still aggressively hiring, and they're not necessarily hiring for technical people. So even like internet-based companies, they have salespeople, they have marketing people, they have operations people, and what it basically means is that you can actually adapt your skill set from whatever industry, as long as you understand this digital world. I think that should work out. If I'm assuming the reason you're asking me this is because you're trying to decide which path to take, right, in terms of your career.
Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Kenny? I don't know.
I don't have anything much to add.
I have sort of, like in a sense that technical skills aside, because it depends on your education and specialty, I think something that can be helpful is if you can sort of display your ability to operate smoothly digitally. Like we all mentioned, everyone is working from home. So if you're somebody who is capable of showing that you can work remotely with little guidance and can also communicate and respond responsibly online, it's a good thing that employers will look out for, because at this point it's very hard to communicate and you can only do it digitally. So if you can display this ability, this skill, it will probably be very helpful in your own career as well.
Yeah, I assume when Shashina asks, it's more of like technical skills, but I think at this point of time, well, actually since not even before this point of time, like since forever, especially now, right? Soft skills are super important, like because the situation is very different now. You need to know how to adapt to what's happening right now, the work conditions right now. I think in general, the employers that I speak to, and also internally at WOBB, right? What we, a lot of employers now, apart from technical skills, they want to see very good attitude from candidates as well, especially fresh candidates, fresh graduates, where sensible employers will not expect you like 3 years of experience as a fresh graduate, right? So they want to see the attitude, the type of attitude that more forward-thinking employers want, and also internally what we want as well, is people who are willing to put the ego aside and learn. Not afraid to ask stupid questions. People who rather be stupid now, ask everything for the purpose of learning to improve themselves. And also people who are a bit more proactive and not just like, requiring babysitting. A lot of people, they don't like micromanagers, right? But the thing, I'm not saying it's always the employer's fault or like the candidate's fault, but in some situations, when you cannot prove that you are independent, when there's a problem that arises, you don't solve it at your level, you straight push it up to the manager, or you straight push it up to someone. You don't show that you have the capability and ability to be able to solve problems, independently. So what we want in people, what most generally employers want in people, is the ability to be proactive in solving situations. Even though if it's something that you cannot solve in your own level, show some thought that you have proof. Show some proof that you have put some thought into the solution, and then only propose the solution upwards. Like, hey, this is so far what we've come up with. Maybe this is something that we can work and build towards. So yeah, that's the thing that most employers are looking for right now. And I hope you can take something from that lah. So next question is, you're gonna take this seriously, Derek. This is the person that wished you happy birthday.
My favorite person right now. Hello.
So Shitong has asked, I'm 27 years old. I have 3 years in recruitment and admin. Should I be looking competent jobs such as admin jobs, as I'm lost in direction right now? Any advice on that? Thank you.
I assume what you mean, Shintong, is that you don't know whether we're going to continue doing admin or not, right? Because you're already skilled in admin, so hence you use the word what you're competent in, right? So, but you're kind of lost in direction. Well, it's challenging, and this is a very challenging question, because I find most of the time, at some point in your career, people tend to wonder. You tend to wonder because, as I said, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? You look at your friends doing this, your friends doing that, But every job actually has its challenges, and it's quite tough, I don't really know someone that like loves 100% of everything that they do. Me personally, in the media, I see some people saying that they do, but me personally, I don't. So I think you should ask, for me, I would probably ask myself, why are you asking this question in the first place? Is it because you think it's not good enough for you, or you think you're interested in something else? Then what is it exactly you're interested in? And why are you interested in this other thing? Are you interested in this other thing because there's a lot of buzz? A lot of people going to tech, as an example. A lot of people are doing software, or a lot of people doing data scientists. I've actually been asked questions from people who have nothing to do with data science, asking me how to become a data scientist. And so, why do you want to become a data scientist? Because it's the thing now. But you're not a data scientist, So you have to really ask those very important questions. In many cases, I think most people actually have pretty good jobs, right? And they don't have real reasons to move, right, or to shift career, So you should really ask yourself those questions. Was that okay? Was that okay, Shintong, the person who wished me happy birthday? I'm trying my best to help you with as little context as possible. So I think, to summarize, just ask yourself lots of questions like why. Ask yourself a lot of whys, and then hopefully you get an answer.
Yeah, I don't have any input from that, but I think that's very well put. So let's move on to the next question. Kevin, can I know what are considered for recruiters to shortlist internship students for your interview? Like, what are the factors?
Definitely not working experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, every company is very different.
Yeah.
I think maybe something that is very obvious is genuine interest in the internship that you apply for. For example, somebody who wants to apply for social media or marketing that genuinely exhibits an interest in marketing in their CV in terms of their skills, and also even a simple short summary saying that, I want to do marketing. Something like that can actually, tell me that, okay, this person is willing to try and they're open to learn.
Yeah. Definitely a turn off would be if you mention that you're doing this internship just because your uni requires you to. Definitely do not say that. Like what Kenny mentioned, address your genuine interest in whatever that you want to do. If you have sort of done anything part-time, actually this is what I usually tell people, especially fresh grads. They think that their previous part-time jobs or freelance jobs and things like that are not required in the CV because they haven't graduated yet or whatever at the time. But actually that shows initiative, that you could that you were doing that while studying even, and who knows, maybe the things that you learned from the freelance job or part-time can actually be relevant to the internship that you're applying to. So you should take that into account as well.
I think it's important to note that not every company, but many companies, when they hire an intern, at the back of the mind, they're thinking, when this person graduates, maybe we could hire them as a fresh graduate, right? Even though you're in the middle of your degree or whatever, right? So they still have standards, if you like. You should still take the interview process seriously, because what I don't want people to do is like, oh, intern only you're paying me such a low salary. It's only a 3-month thing. Don't, just simply apply. But if you're talking about a good internship with a good company, it's very valuable for your CV. So I would try to apply for it like I'm applying for a fresh graduate job. But that kind of mindset, right? Make sure you have a good CV and take it seriously.
I take this opportunity, with seriousness. And what I mean by that is, although it is an internship, that is made mandatory by a university, right? That's besides the point. You should go in an internship with the intention of performing like a full-timer in an internship, right? So even if you're not going to join that company as a full-time, after internship has ended, your next employer will see like, wow, this person, in the internship also treated the job so seriously, did so many things, accomplished so many good deals. It's not for the benefit of anybody other than yourself, right? So don't just take it as like summer break like that to earn like pocket money. No, that's not the right way, right? So let's move on to the next question then. So Isabel has asked, if someone who has no e-commerce experience but wanting to go into the field, what are the biggest skills that companies are looking for?
Assuming you're not going into a technical role in the e-commerce company, then an understanding of how the e-commerce companies work, how the internet works, right? Being a very digital savvy person. So you could be applying to e-commerce company, but knowing the general conversation about what social media is about, what e-commerce is about, what tech is about, even though you haven't worked on it before. And you can do very simple things by just like reading books about the tech industry or articles, follow people that are in tech and see what language they're speaking and stuff like that. And that's the way when the e-commerce company interviews you, they will know that, oh, you understand our business, even though you haven't actually worked in our business before. And don't be intimidated, because the entire e-commerce business is very young anyway. It's a very young. So most e-commerce companies, when they're hiring someone, they're not thinking, I want to hire someone that's done e-commerce before. They're not thinking like that, because where are all these e-commerce people? They're not many, right? So they actually hire from outside e-commerce in the first place. But what you need to do is show that you really done your research, you understand the internet and how businesses, function here.
Well, I mean, like, I can't speak for everyone here, but like, we're not an e-commerce company, but we do have like a community of work, right? You can visit us at wobbjobs.com/offwork. I think Ashley, if you're managing session, just put the link down so that people can go there as well. So it's a community where people, some experts are outside of WOBB as well. So some of them might have experience in the e-commerce industry that can answer your questions more in depth as well. But any thoughts on this? Any further thoughts on this question?
I think, maybe one helpful thing you can do is probably go and look at the JDs on some e-commerce positions. You can sort of understand like what are the technical skills that they are looking for, and maybe you can start from there and sort of see which areas that you need to brush up on. Yeah.
So Chihu has asked the next question. Is it important to have a degree education?
This is the reason I find this thing challenging is because if you ask me personally, I think there's a very big debate as to how much you actually get from your degree in terms of useful skill. But at the same time, companies look at it now. Most companies look at it now. It's sort of like you can think of it like a passport to your interview. You still need to interview well, but most companies, like, because there's no other way to differentiate people when you don't have experience. You imagine like there are, I think, 250,000-ish fresh graduates in Malaysia every year. The companies need something to, they can't interview 250,000 people, right? So they need something to gauge who I should interview. So they still look at CVs, right? But there are some, I know that there are some companies that don't, but you're talking about the minority rather than the majority. So if you don't have a degree, I would still apply to jobs. You will find companies that don't really care. Like in WOBB, we don't really care, honestly, like as long as you're great at your work. But not every company looks at it in this way. The majority may not. It's still your passport to your first interview, if you like, your first job.
I do know personally some people who doesn't have a degree, who is around my age, but after they finish SPM, they join some smaller SME companies, and then they got a lot of work experience from that. So I think it's very hard to say. Like what Darren mentioned, a lot of companies do look at that as like an entry qualification. But having a degree doesn't guarantee you like a job.
It doesn't. Yeah.
You're putting into context, I think, like, I get a degree, then I get a job. No, it's not like that, right? But sorry, go ahead.
More technical roles would require a degree, right? For example, like tech roles, digital roles, that would require a degree lah. But if you're going more of like, say, a sales role, marketing, creative, all these, maybe not as much. Yeah.
And as you work over time, the degree does matter less and less because the employer really does look at your performance at work, right? But again, as you grow, there will be some small minority that will still care whether you have a degree or not. But the more you work, the more experience you get, then this group of people who care whether you have a degree or not will get smaller and smaller as time goes. Hope that helps.
Oh, that's a
next. Let's try to squeeze in 2 more questions if we can.
Wish you happy birthday.
I'm paying attention to your question.
So yeah, this one is kind of related. It's about master's degree instead. Will you give an advantage for career progression? Because there was a research done saying that there's a huge gap between the number of jobs available and recent undergraduates in Malaysia.
Well, I think a master's degree and a degree might get you an interview. I can't say for sure that because you have a master's, you have a higher chance of getting an interview. I'm not sure. I'm going to be very frank. I think, and even if you do, it still depends on how well you interview. Yeah, so I'm not sure, let's say, if you're struggling to find a job that answers to do a master's. Right. So, and I'm not speaking from experience from people I interviewed before. I know you invest a lot of time in doing a master's, but most of the time for companies, right, the bar is related to the previous question. The bar for them is degree. If you have a degree from a somewhat recognized university, they would interview you already. So having that master's doesn't give you this huge advantage, right? It still comes down to the interview in the end.
I think a good way to think about it is, does your master's have any practical application to your current job? For example, for maybe you're a tech developer and you decide to specialize in cybersecurity. So you took up a master's in cybersecurity. Then in that sense, you are actually more specialized and you understand more about the theories behind your job. So in that sense, that masters will have more practical application and may influence your chances of landing a job more, right? Like compared to some other ones that may just look nice on paper but may not have that much practical applications. So maybe that's something that you need to think about as well.
And I think also something like Eleanor just said earlier, it seems to me that the more technical the role, the more the paper qualification might matter, right? The more technical the role. So the less technical the role, then the paper qualification matters less. So I think that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, let's squeeze in one more.
Okay, we'll squeeze in one more then. Let's do it.
Yeah. So Liyana has asked, is internship that important?
Oh, that's an easy one. Yes.
Liyana, Brian, Kenny, and I got this full-time job from an internship at WOBB. We started as interns. So I think that should answer the question very well.
Yes, it's important. And I'll answer why is it important. Okay. So I see internship as a way, like the perfect transition from education to a full-time job. Meaning, like, if you finish your studies, right, you think, I was taught by Derek the Dunning-Kruger effect. When you graduate, right, you think you're like the top stuff. You think you're the hottest thing, like the best thing ever to happen to this company if you join them, right? Because your grades, like 4.0 CGPA and first class. Then you go into the workspace, the first professional workspace. You join everybody and you realize that you're nothing special, because you don't have that experience. And as a full-time position, it's very stressful because you're getting full-time salary and you're expected to perform in a way. So when you fail, right, people will think like, maybe you personally think like, oh, maybe I'm not so good. But what I mean by that is when you join a full-time position, there's a lot of things that you're not familiar with, and you cannot really afford to fail versus an internship. And what I mean by that is, in an internship, right, people expect that you are learning. People expect you to kind of make mistakes and fail. Much like what an intern would do. And with that being, with that internship position, right, you're getting your first taste of how it's like working at a company without committing to a long-term full-time position. It's because usually internships are like 3 months, right? Once you join this company, you join this position, you serve it for 3 months, and you realize that, hey, this company is not really for me. This industry is not really for me. This job role is not really for me. You can leave in 3 months without any repercussions. But when you join a full-time position and you leave in 3 months, that's going to leave a mark in your CV. Right? That's one of the biggest points, what I'm trying to convey across. What are any other thoughts on this?
That's pretty good, Ernie.
My advice is that you don't have to do internships just because your college or university asks you to do it. If you want to try something out, like what Brian mentioned, and see if it fits you, or you want to change your career, just give it a go. Honestly, that's how I started my shift and how I got my full-time job. So it's a proven and true method that it works for you if you actually do give it a go.
Yeah, and definitely use it as a way. So back to the question about masters just now, does it help you? I would probably say if you do a lot of internships, relevant internships to this kind of fresh graduate role, you probably stand a higher chance of getting an interview versus having paper qualification, an extra paper qualification. Like if I have two CVs side by side from the same university, and one of them, this person has done an internship in a tech startup before, I would definitely stop me as I'll stare at that CV a bit longer, and it's very likely I invite this person for an interview. Just as simple as that, right? So definitely take your internship seriously.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's all the time we have today. But for the questions that we didn't get to answer, right, don't worry. We'll tell you how you can get them answered after this, right? So before that, I want to let people know that WOBB is actually hiring. So WOBB has 9 positions available, the ones that you see on screen. But you want to know more about the company, head on over to wobbjobs.com/WOBB, right? So with that, Kenny, where can people ask us questions? If they have follow-up questions, if they have questions that were not answered, where can they go?
Yeah. So actually, our team created a platform called Offword, It's actually a group on Facebook that we created for people to ask anything that's related to their career. Things as simple as like, what should I put in my CV, to like, can you help me with this problem? If you want it, you can always head over there and ask the questions. You don't have to wait until today. We have our team here that's on the group as well as other people and experts from other industries that can share their thoughts and advice. So yeah, do head over to wobbjobs.com/offwork or search for Offwork on Facebook, and you can join us there and ask your questions.
Yeah. So see you there soon, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.